I want to talk a little bit about market saturation in gaming and why this is going to really put a huge pressure on the way gaming is done. I think a lot of people underestimate the reality right now that there are just too many video games being made. Like, this is not an overstatement. If you go on Steam, this is where a lot of games are published on. Steam has a very developer friendly platform. I'm not saying like they just pretty much allow all kinds of dross to get on there. To be honest, sometimes it can feel like that. But again, most developers have the capability to test out the market via Steam. It really does a good job for them. And by and large, I think this is something that, for the most part, when you see the way a lot of folk who play on the console side, pretty much are, I would say, in an ecosystem that's locked down, address the way, the PC market works. It's very funny because for the most part, they're coming and looking at it from the perspective of having been locked in an ecosystem for many years. I'm not saying this is an insult. I'm talking about how, sometimes we may think we know something, but we don't really know. Like me, because I haven't played with a lot of PlayStation's more recent advancement, I am kind of behind on some of their, some of the moves they're making. And in some cases I refuse because something like PlayStation Plus, premium, that's something I'm not going to give PlayStation money for when Game Pass actually exists. So again, this is definitely something that I'm talking about. Like, sometimes we're just limited on what we know. However, in terms of PlayStation's data set, in terms of where they are in the market, because of what they've told us, they've pretty much made it super easy for us to be able to decipher what's going on. And seeing the way sales numbers right now are in a place where you can pretty much pull them and say, okay, what's going on with the sales and what's going on with PlayStation's moves getting more and more closer to day and date to PC with its games, with more of its games. I think you can already tell that this saturation is going on. Not only that, PlayStation doesn't even really understand the PC market. They're bringing their PlayStation launcher scenario when they did not start out with it in the first place. This is basically throwing off a lot of fans, or I guess I would say a lot of people who may be interested in their games. And so those people are probably taking back doors or waiting for the game to be cheap and then eventually modding that whole thing out at the end of the day. That's one thing about the PC platform. The PC platform is one that demands a lot, and PlayStation will probably still learn. Just watch. I think some PlayStation fans were saying, PC players are crybabies and all that stuff. Now, you got to understand there's a way business has been done. And if we start letting, these companies come and erode how business is done, especially when they're used to making their games for locked ecosystems where whenever you buy it, you have no choice than to sign those TOSs, then at the end of the day, there's not going to be a difference. Before you know, PlayStation is going to want to start charging you money to play their games because they're already charging you on PlayStation money to play their games, while those on PC are playing their live service games for free. In fact, if it's not already bothersome to you, and I think this is the biggest, funniest part, you see my fellow PlayStation fans say, if they bring their games day and dates to PC, then I'm going to move to PC. Bro, if you did not move to PC to play Helldivers 2 already, then you're pretty much not going to move to PC at this point if they bring the games day and date. Why? Because you're going to go spend extra money, to go buy another platform to play a game that's already available to you. Maybe you would, but I think it's probably the most redundant thing. However, with the case of the live service games, they usually, and we've seen the example, they'll let you on PC, which they don't have any choice, to play the game for free in terms of your, online connectivity. And you will play crossplay with PlayStation players who pay money to actually play online. That's the move that should have actually had you make your way to the PC ecosystem. If that did not make you move, then nothing else will. I mean, you know what I mean? Because what PlayStation is doing is PlayStation has basically prioritized, in a sense, its proxy market, which is the PC ecosystem, and has pretty much put you, the console player, in a really interesting spot. So talk about anti-consumer to me. Let me hear about it. Now, Xbox, they do the same thing. I'm not saying that they're actually, free from it. But if you were, wanting a reason to actually move to the PC platform, I think this would have probably provided a better reason. Because again, these games are coming day and date at the same time, right? So let's not pretend like, this is some really great thing. The saturation in the market does not allow for PlayStation to conduct business elsewhere in the way that it does with its console. Neither does it allow for them to actually stay comfortable in its own ecosystem as well, because its ecosystem is also a participant of hosting this number of games and also basically supporting this particular saturation. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, if this is not something that anybody talks about or points out to, then I think we're going to be basically behind in terms of what's going on. But we can't be behind because why? There are folk who want to look at this stuff objectively. I've basically been taking my time to pay very close attention with how they've been moving their games to the PC platform. In fact, I've even started to hypothesize that we're going to see their Xbox moves pretty soon, because now it no longer even really matters. The whole exclusivity thing, people now realize it's timed exclusivity. People now also realize that at this point in time, there's just enough games. In fact, what's crazy is Wukong shows up, right? So, allegedly PlayStation money hats the game. Xbox players are complaining, oh my gosh, we can't play Wukong. Then we look and say, oh wait, there's another game named Wu Chang that looks, if you like the hack and slash, maybe Souls genre or whatever, it looks pretty good. Looks like the developers who made that game seem like they're just as competent. And that's coming to Xbox and Game Pass. Almost a replica in terms of what you would expect from, say, that genre of games coming within a year in terms of, the release time, if it doesn't get delayed. So this kind of saturation is actually very interesting because now it's also shortening the amount of time that you're seeing good or games that are, in a sense, presentable to you. And they're pretty much showing up at everybody's doorstep because a lot of developers are willing to make money. They want to make money. They're not going to sit there and wait for somebody to basically handhold them and baby them in such a volatile market, while that same company that's actually handholding you is pretty much locking your game down and then taking their games to PC, Stellar Blade being one of those. And then Final Fantasy 16 being another one that had the same release window as God of War Ragnarok. That's how saturated the market is. You're meeting your competitor everywhere that you go. It's insane. Even when you do timed exclusivity, you're still meeting your competitors there. And I think this is definitely something that we need as a gaming community to continue to point out as the biggest factor that leans on the industry to change the paradigm. This is why exclusivity is dead. The moment you hold a game back, every other game has wonderful opportunity to roam and run free. That's it. You've given everybody else leeway. So PlayStation can keep holding its games. I guarantee you developers are saying, thank you. We appreciate the efforts that you've put in here to make our lives less difficult. We appreciate the efforts that you've put to pretty much put us on the advantage. And we say shout out to you for doing that. But the developers are looking and saying, nah, bro, we want to go out there and make money. What are we doing here for a platform that we already were going to bring the game? If people already liked the game on the platform, they were already going to buy the game on the platform. And if people do not start looking at this, they're going to always be surprised when they start seeing shifts move. I won't be surprised. We're going to see possibly in the lineup of superhero games that are coming out from the PlayStation studios. I'm looking forward to a day one. This is a hypothesis. I might be wrong, but seeing the way the industry and the market is shifting, it will take a huge, huge change in terms of the way people are thinking, especially after the PS5 Pro releases, in order for us to see them maintain exclusivity for their more expensive games. Those $300 million games, they're going the way of Indiana Jones. Xbox ain't worried about it. They're already like, screw it. We're even taking it to PlayStation. PlayStation's next. All right. Maybe. I might be wrong, though. You never know. If I'm wrong, by all means, drag me in the comment section. I'll get some sense. Appreciate you all so much. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.